Hi everyone, this is Margaret. I wanted to take some time and do a small or brief discussion with you about earned value. And the reason for that is that some of you who are working towards your PMP certification don't use earned value at work. If you are a person who uses earned value at work, I will tell you that my overview might be very simplistic, because what I want to do is do a recap of the concepts of earned value. Again, especially if you're a person who you need to know earned value for the PMP exam, but you currently aren't using it at work. And by the way, I also want to tell you that you might go your entire career, and because of the nature of the company or industry where you work, you might not use earned value, and there's nothing wrong with you. You're not in trouble or doing anything wrong or bad as a project manager. Earned value is, at this time, very popularly used with some consulting firms, and certainly in aerospace and Department of Defense and government contracts. In fact, it's usually written into the contract as a requirement. But some of you who are not working in those worlds are not using earned value, and that's the way it goes. But you need it for the exam, and so let's talk about it. So earned value, you see in front of you, it says an integrated project management system. Another way I like to say that is it marries or integrates scope, schedule, and budget, and expresses how we are doing, what is our true status of scope, schedule, and budget, using all three together and using primarily dollar values to express how we're doing. And so I'm going to give you an example, and for the purposes of expressing the concepts, it is a very simple example. So pardon me for the simplification. And it goes like this. I work for you on a project, and that project is going to take 10 days, and I earn $10 a day. So woohoo, there's a big raise for me. Yay, $10 a day. So let's see, with my $10 a day, I can get a couple of 99-cent tacos and a margarita. So there you go. I guess I'm going to have to sleep, I don't know, in my car at the bus stop, but there you go. So $10 a day. And every day I plan to complete 10% of the work. So that's pretty straightforward, right? You see how I'm doing that? So it's a 10-day project. If everything goes well, at the end it will have cost you $100, because there's only my costs. Let's say there's no materials costs or anything like that. There's just my costs. And every day I'll complete 10% of the work. So in the world where we don't use earned value, if I come to you at the end of day 2, what might be a valid assumption for you to have made? It's likely that the assumption that you have made is that it's the end of day 2, and we are 20% complete, and you have paid me $20. And that may or may not be true. Now see, you're smart, so you're not going to just let me show up every day and stick my hand out for my $10. You're going to ask me, what did I accomplish? And so oftentimes when we live in a world where we report by effort expended and dollars expended, the part of the conversation we're missing is, and what did you get for that effort expended? So the fact that I worked for 2 days, that's good, but did I produce what I was supposed to in those 2 days? Did you get what you planned on getting in those 2 days? And that's why earned value is a popular approach. And this is why the Project Management Institute really wants us to consider using earned value, because it takes some of that guesswork away. So it's really tying it all together. So as we do this, we're going to look at some of the basic formulae and talk about what they mean. So when you see EV, that means earned value. Now the way you figure that out or calculate that is the percent complete times its original budget. Or we call this the percent of the original work that's been earned. All right, so now let's look at our example, and here I am, I'm working for you, and on the first day I come to your office and I stick my hand out for my $10, because that's very firm in my contract that I get my $10 every day, no matter what. And you ask me, but what did you do today? And I say, well, I did finish everything. So that means 10% of the project was completed on the first day. So now your earned value is 100% for that day. So 100% times $10, your earned value is equal to $10. Now on the second day, I come to you, I put my hand out for my $10, and you say, here's your $10, what did you do today, what did you accomplish? And I look down at my feet and I mumble something. And you say, what? And I say, well, I only finished half of the work today. So now if we were keeping a running total, here's where we are. We've got $10 of earned value from day one, but on day two, I only finished 50% of the work. So now that's 0.5, or 50% of $10. So that's 5. So we have $10 from day one and $5 from day two. So we have 15. Now right away before we go on, I bet you can see that there might be some problems here. And the problems are expressed right now at this point in terms of planned value, or you're going to know the problem when you know what the value for your planned value is. Because the planned value is, what did you think was going to happen? That's your baseline. You know, you take your baseline when you finish your schedule and your budget and your scope, you take a baseline and you say, here's what we're going to do. That's your snapshot in time. And your baseline, that's your approved cost. So we planned $10 per day. So the planned value as of the end of day one is $10. The planned value as of the end of day two is $20. And so now you're starting to see why, knowing the earned value and the planned value, you begin to see that there might be a problem with this little quick and easy project of ours, huh? Okay, what are the actual costs? So AC, this means actual cost. This is what you spent, all right? And I'm showing up every day for my $10, so you're spending your $10. So at the end of the first day, you spent $10. At the end of the second day, you spent $20, because that's for the project to date. Well, let's start taking a look at some variances. So CV stands for cost variance. It's the difference between the earned value and the actual costs. So your formula here is just EV minus AC. So on the first day, we're right on. Look at that, right on target. But the second day, you earned $15 worth of value, and you spent $20 to get it. Your actual costs were $20. So now you have a negative 5. And so when we look at the variance numbers, we're looking at cost variance right now. When you have 0, it means you're right on. When you have a negative 5 or a negative number, it means you are underperforming, which means at this point, it looks like we're going to go over budget. And it's only the second day of the project, so at this point we're going to go over budget at least $5. Okay? We also sometimes use indices to express the relationship between what we earned and what we spent. And when we do this, it's called cost performance index. And so now instead of subtracting, we divide. And okay, so this is a tip, and it could be a silly tip, so take it for what it's worth. When I was studying for the PMP exam, the way I remembered is once I got the variance formula down, and I understand that the variance was equal to the earned value minus the actual cost, to do the index, then I realized I just used the same two figures, and instead of having a minus sign, I just flipped it on its side and made it into the divide sign. Okay? Silly, but that's what helped me remember. So on the first day, we have an earned value of 10 and an actual cost of 10. So if we do the division there, that's 1. That means we're exactly on target. On the second day, we earned the $15 of value, but we spent 20. So when we take 15 divided by 20, we get 0.75. When we're using the cost performance index, a number under 1, again, shows you're underperforming. And in this case, if I'm underperforming with my costs, it means I'm going to be over budget. If we had a number over 1, then that means we're ahead, or with the budget, it would mean, look, we're running under budget, okay? So I'm going to hold that thought. Let's keep going. So we took a look at schedule, cost, pardon me, just a second ago we looked at cost and cost variance. Now we want to look at schedule. And so the formula for schedule variance is earned value and the plan minus the planned value, or the baseline. All right, so what do we plan to achieve? And we earned $10 on day one. On that day we planned to get 10, so that was good. It's the second day again where you see with your project, oh, I'm in trouble. And so on the second day you see again you earned $15, but you planned to get 20. So you see that -5. And so schedule variance, just like with cost variance, when you have a negative number, it means you're underperforming, and to underperform against a schedule means you are going to be over, you are late. And if you are overperforming in terms of schedule, it means you're going to be early. We have the index here. So before we talked about cost performance index. Now we have schedule performance index. And so again, my silly little way of remembering it is it's the same two figures I use, it just now instead of subtraction I divide. And it's the same rules in terms of if you are a value of 1.0, you are right on target. If you have a value that is less than 1, you are underperforming, which again for schedule means I'm going to be late. And if I had a value like 1.25, that would mean I'm outperforming or overperforming, and I might be early. Okay? So you can see I'm late. And perhaps the most important thing to you is time. And maybe you have some extra money that you can use in order to get back on track. And perhaps you're willing to do that, because you want to be done with me and my silly 10-day project. And you're like, go away, Margaret. And so you're willing to pay me some overtime money in order to get back on track. All right? So it's the end of day 2. I came to your office. I held out my hand for my $10. You looked at me and you said, that's great, but what did you accomplish? And that's when I looked at my shoes and muttered, and you said, what? And I said, well, I only got half the work accomplished today. And so you say to me, Margaret, if I pay you overtime, can you stay tonight and finish the rest of the work so that we're on schedule? And I agree, because I'm really happy for that $5, because that's a couple of more tacos, right? So I'm happy dog. And I stay. And so now let's look at the picture here, okay? So at the end of day 2, you've paid me overtime, and I got caught up. So you earned, now you did earn your $20 of work because I completed the work. And that's exactly what you planned. But what you spent to get there, you spent $25 because you had to give me the $10 a day no matter what, because I had that in my contract. No matter what I accomplished, you had to pay me $10 a day. Probably you'll be rewriting that contract next time, won't you? And so you spent more money to get where you wanted to go, if I can say it that way. And so your actual costs are $25. Now let's look at your cost variance and your schedule variance, because I think the examples we were using before where the numbers are all the same, that can be a little confusing. And cost variance and schedule variance are not always the same, because it really depends on what's going on. And so right now you have a situation where you are willing to spend more to stay on schedule. And so with our cost variance, which is equal to our earned value minus our actual cost, we've got $20 minus $25, we have a -5. And that tells you that we're running over budget. Your schedule variance, you have earned value, 20, planned value, 20, so you have 0. So now you are on schedule, you're just, again, spending more to get there. And that is, a very simple example of earned value. A couple other things to throw in there. When we talk about a budgeted cost at completion, or BAC, that's your baseline. That's the money you were given. So for this project, your baseline was $100 because it was $10 per day for 10 days. Your estimate at completion This is not me, because I'm working for you, someone else came to you and said, when this project is over, how much will you have spent? That's what EAC means. It's your estimate. The project's ended, but you're doing an estimate because we're not at the end yet, all right? And so right now, you know that you spent $5 extra. So if you believe that right now everything's going to fall into place, from days 3 through 10, I'm going to complete everything I need to complete every day, you're not going to pay me overtime again, we're not going to go beyond the 10 days, then your estimate at completion for this project is $105. You're going to spend $105 instead of $100, so you're going to have 5% variance, right? Simple, or at least I'm giving you a really simple example. And I'm doing that in case, again, you don't use this every day, and I want you to have an understanding of the concepts, because on the exam, when you get these earned value questions, again, if it's not something you work with all the time, and if you're a little bit of a math phobic, even though you notice, a lot of this math wasn't very complicated, was it? It could make you a little nervous, and you do want to understand and memorize the formula, but notice I said understand, and it is important to know the formulae, but also understand what they mean. And so I hope that this little brief overview has helped shed some light on that. And before I let you go, something for you to consider, a tip. When you go and take the exam, and you're placed in it's usually like a little cubicle or something where you take the exam, especially if you're taking it, on a desktop, you will be given a pencil and a blank piece of paper. And it is a good idea to do a brain dump. This is not cheating. It is an okay approach. And on that little blank piece of paper, you take, from your head, hence the term brain dump, the things you've been holding in your head that you wanted to memorize up until you walked into that testing center, and you put them down on the piece of paper. And then you would put things like, if you're nervous about math, you'd put the formulae down, and some of the acronyms and things that you've been studying and learning. And then when you hit a question where you're nervous, you've got your brain dump to back you up. And the truth is, when that happens, and you hit a math question and you have the formula on your brain dump, then math questions become your friend because you use the formula and you plug in the numbers. And there you go. That's all for now. Thank you very much for listening and watching, and I am cheering you on as you continue your classwork. Bye.